So on to number one, you don't need a perfect product, you just need to get started. There are so many products that people are selling within e-commerce, whether that's on Shopify or Wix or Squarespace or even on Amazon, that the perfect product doesn't equal the biggest revenue or the best e-commerce store. The secret is going to come down to the other things that I've learned, but number one, the perfect product doesn't exist. And even if you have a great product, there'll be other people with a worse product who can potentially do better than you for the other 8 reasons. Sometimes the category is more important that you have a product in rather than the actual product itself. It may be that something is so competitive, for example, Labubus, where even if you don't have a Labubu, you have a competitor product, people are going to funnel into that and buy it in droves. So don't get hung up on making the perfect product. And this is why so many people make so much money with dropshipping. Number two, you can't compare yourself to any other store. It's absolutely impossible. Someone's selling on Shopify is going to be different from Amazon. Price points are going to be different. Margins are going to be different. And if you try and compare yourself against another competitor, it's just not going to work out. There are some businesses who have a very cheap amount of marketing associated with selling their product, and other businesses that spend an absolute fortune. Nike is a great example versus a dropshipper selling trainers. Nike has a multi-billion-dollar marketing budget, whereas that dropshipper doesn't have that. Yet they operate in the same category. One has great margins, the other one doesn't, but that's that. The dropshipper makes a 10% margin, Nike makes a 70% margin. It doesn't really matter. So you can't really compare one another. On to number three. I used to think e-commerce was all about driving the most amount of traffic to a website so people have awareness and then people will just buy. And that's completely not true. Conversion rate is the first thing to fix on your website before doing anything else. Before you do email marketing, before you do pop-ups, before you run Facebook ads, before you even set up an affiliate community, make sure your website has a good conversion rate. A good conversion rate tells you how easy it is for someone to go through your store, shop and buy. That's all it means. A great conversion rate will be 5%, a poor one will be 0.5%. And if you're somewhere in the middle, you'll be doing just fine. And remember, you can always improve it through A/B testing, upgrading your website and using apps. But a conversion rate can save you a ton of marketing money because if you convert more of your site users, you make more money. Number four, cost of marketing will always go up. There's a brilliant chart that Facebook have where CPMs of their advertising have gone up every single quarter that they've ran ads. This means customer acquisition costs always go up unless you change your product or your company substantially. But let's say you've set up an apparel company and you're a premium product. Generally speaking, whatever your CAC is will stay fairly similar unless you're doing something fundamentally wrong, like you have a poor conversion rate or you're not running very good advertising. Customer acquisition costs will always rise because the base rate of CPM will continue to rise. So it's really important to A/B test, really important to optimize everything, but just be conscious that your acquisition cost is likely to always rise over time, which means you need to get your margins in a good place. Number five is customer service. I'm sure you've seen platforms such as Trustpilot, where people can leave reviews on your product and service. And this becomes crucial, especially as you scale your product and brand. People look to Trustpilot for reviews and to whether or not they should trust your product. If you discard this, it's going to hurt you further down the line. People will leave bad reviews. Word will get out that you're not very good with customers and you're going to lose sales. So it's really important to stay on top of your customer service because poor customer service leads to bad reviews, which leads to customers not willing to buy from you. 6, and this has changed a lot, creative is everything if you're running your business through paid advertising, especially if you're using Facebook advertising to run your business. The sheer amount of creative you need can be very time consuming or expensive, especially if you don't create the creative yourself. Now, going back 6, 7, 8 years, creative was never the number one determinant as to if your Facebook ads would be successful. But ever since the Andromeda update, and really going back the past few years, Facebook creative has been the most important part of having efficient Facebook ads. There is still skill in targeting, understanding the hacks, for example, using whitelisting and running partnership ads, but creative is at the heart of modern day e-commerce. Now on to 7, you need to always be testing and never be happy where you are today. The thing about e-commerce is consumer habits change, website behaviors change, and you need to stay on top of it. When you introduce a new product or maybe you change your brand, people's perceptions of your store changes. This means you always need to be testing new formats, whether that's new product pages, checkout flows, and features, so that your store is always evolving and you're catering for your customers really well. If you're a marketplace and you sell hundreds of products, that's a very different use case to a single product such as AG1. So really understand how your website is set up, what your customers are looking to do, and that will inform how you improve your store over time. Now on to 8, and this is the penultimate tip. The 9th one is super important. You need to understand the importance of email marketing. Email marketing in its best form will generate 20 to 30% of your monthly revenue. It's a huge amount. So you need to do the following things. Have your welcome flow set up, your abandon cart, website abandonment flow, and pop-up flows all set up and optimized. Let's say you've ran an e-commerce store for a few years, but you've never done email marketing. Well, the good news is you can generate a ton more revenue from your existing customer base if you get this set up, especially if you're using Shopify. Plug in Klaviyo or maybe look to Omnisend. And if you really don't want to spend much money, you can use Shopify's own email app. Again, if you want to do it professionally, go to Klaviyo. If you just want to get started and test things and understand what email marketing is to begin with, you can start with the Shopify email app. Email marketing is not just about generating revenue, it's about building a relationship with your customers who have purchased once, or maybe those customers who have left you their email address but they've never bought before. You're building a relationship that you can hopefully turn into sales further down the line. And never be shy about the fact an email is meant to sell products. Often people who own e-commerce brands feel bad always running offers or sales in emails. And it's true, running promotions and offers can affect brand. However, in general, if someone's in an email database for a product they love, they want to receive offers. So make sure you set up your email marketing and aim for 20 to 30% of your total monthly revenue coming through emails. That's way cheaper than running Facebook ads. And on to number 9, and this is the most important tip: margins. It's so boring, but so important. If you're new to business and e-commerce, this will be a lot to digest, but I'll simplify it. The amount of product you generate from selling something is not the money you get in the bank account. If you sell a product for £100, but it costs you £50 to manufacture, you've only got £50 left over. In that example, that's a 50% gross margin. However, you've also got your costs involved. Say you use Facebook marketing to generate that sale. Let's say that was £20. Well, you've only got £30 left over. That's a 30% margin. Now, there's all sorts of different margins between gross margin, net margin, EBITDA. But if you haven't studied finance, just think about your top line revenue minus your costs, minus your marketing, and you need to understand what you're making from each of those calculations. A great gross margin will be up to 80%, a poor one will be 40%, and a great net margin will be 40 to 50%. If after all your marketing costs you're making zero money, you've got a problem, and very soon you'll think e-commerce is not sustainable. You won't be making any money, you can't reinvest, and you're going to get into financial issues, especially if you have a ton of cash within your stock. This is often what kills off e-commerce brands, is having all your free cash flow within your stock. And if you're struggling to sell that stock, it means you've got no cash to market with. So having great margins protects you. It allows you to do marketing. It allows you to reinvest in stock. It allows you to pay your suppliers and employees and freelancers. And the number one reason brands fail is cash flow. So make sure you have your margins right. Those are the top 9 things I wish I'd known before I jumped into e-commerce. Now, I started my career at AB InBev, which is the parent company of Budweiser and Corona. And I learned everything about consumer goods and how a multi-billion-dollar product company operates, from how supply chain works through to e-commerce through to finance. And if you found this video interesting, I'm sharing way more of that advice in the previous video, so go check those videos out and videos upcoming. Please like, comment and subscribe, and drop a comment down below if there is something very specific you want me to create a video on. If you have a question, I will get back to you. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.